We cross 54 bridges, see countless waterfalls, see how the locals do the hula, and soak up some rays on one of the world's best beaches. All this and more on Great Drives Maui, the Hana Highway. We were on Maui to drive one of the world's most interesting roads, the twisty Hana Highway. Ahead of us lay 44 miles that wind around 600 curves and over 54 one-lane bridges. Paia is the first and last place to get gas before you arrive in Hana. It's a good idea to fill up and grab some water or sodas and snacks for the road. Tourism has replaced sugarcane as the economic engine of Maui, and the road to Hana is one of its biggest attractions. This drive begins at mile marker 0, where Hawaii State Highway 36 turns into State Route 360. As we started our journey, we found the roads to be well paved and plenty wide. The sky was deep blue and filled with clouds. But it didn't take long for us to realize why everything here is so green. Rain is an on-again, off-again occurrence. The area receives nearly 70 inches of rain a year. But don't let it bother you. The air is still warm, and the rain usually doesn't last long. When the sun returns, your windshield is nice and clean. The key is not to be in a hurry. There are many places you'll want to pull off and explore. Places like the Waikamoi Ridge Trail and Overlook, just past mile marker 9, offer a glimpse into the natural splendor of Maui. It's a tropical rainforest full of trees, ferns, and bamboo. It's easily explored, but wearing closed-toe shoes like tennis shoes or hiking boots isn't a bad idea. It takes about 30 minutes to walk along the trail. It starts and ends in a grassy field that's perfect for a picnic. It's tempting to linger at every spot, but there's more to see. The average speed on the narrow road is about 15 miles per hour, but locals usually want to go faster. Pull over when you can and let them pass. You'll notice a number of spots that are only one lane wide. Courtesy is the key, and once again, don't be in a hurry. There are waterfalls at just about every bridge crossing. One of the benefits of vast quantities of rain.
This is what Hawaii is supposed to be. Lush green vegetation, waterfalls, just magical stuff everywhere.
The Hana Highway was completed in 1927, but many of the narrow bridges were first built for the horse and wagon trail that the highway replaced. Some sites, like the lower Puahokama Falls, just past mile marker 10, are a bit difficult to find. Just past the falls is the Kaumahina State Wayside Park. Wonderful vistas. And most importantly for some, bathrooms. The Hana Highway really begins to hug the coast as you approach Hanamanu Bay. There's a pullout that gives you a great view of the bay. While there, we spotted cars on the beach. We decided to go for a closer look. This was one road that needed some work. This area looks much like it did 1,500 years ago when the first humans came ashore on this isolated island. Its abundance of rugged and remote terrain has helped to keep more than 75% of Maui uninhabited. This is a great place for people who like unspoiled nature. You'll want to stop between mile markers 14 and 16 for some of the most iconic looks at the Hana Highway. From afar, the road nearly disappears in the dense growth. The road begins to twist inland as it heads to Hanatown. Stop and savor the views. Imagine the violent volcanic eruptions that formed these steep cliffs over 1,000,000 years ago. Just past mile marker 16 is a local road that takes you to the Keanai Peninsula. Drive down for a close-up view of the rugged lava chunks that form the Maui coastline. It's beautiful today, but imagine when these rocks were molten lava pouring into the sea. When the lava cooled, it formed a peninsula that supports one of Maui's rural villages. This picturesque spot with its 19th century stone church is still home to many native Hawaiians. If you didn't stock up on film or drinks in Paia, there are a few roadside stands along the road to Hana. It's hard to drive past any of the many waterfalls you encounter along the Hana Highway. Nearly everyone gets infected with a playful spirit when visiting Maui. You can't help but smile. And you have to take pictures. We found that the attitude in Hana was the result of a unique blend of cultures.
Actually, we have our 3 very important persons now that I'll put out here. We have our Kings of Kings. We have our last Queen of Hawaii, whose name was Queen Liliuokalani, meaning Lydia from heaven. And thirdly, we have Elvis Presley, who was the last king of rock and roll. Have a good day. Mahalo, sir. Mahalo.
As you pass mile marker 25, take the road down to Nahiku.
Drive 2 miles on Nahiku Road.
Thousands of people once lived here when it was a rubber plantation in the early part of the 20th century. But there was too much rain for rubber trees and the town collapsed. Today it's a secluded slice of heaven. While rubber never gained traction on Maui, the Kahanu Garden, just up the road from Nahiku, is full of the plants that have. We joined a group of travel writers for a tour through one of America's 5 national tropical botanical gardens. We were all here for a culinary adventure, focusing on indigenous ingredients and, more importantly, the work going on to save and restore threatened natural habitats. This garden is home to a remarkable collection of plants that Hawaiians have used for food, building, clothing, religion, and medicine. Many of the most important plants, like the one Captain Bligh made famous, the breadfruit, were first brought here in the canoes of the Tahitians and other South Pacific islanders who first came to the islands.
That's our main focus at this garden, is to build those collections of all the different varieties of these canoe plants, to share them with people, to share the stories and the names, and to keep that part of the culture alive and thriving.
This was the first time we'd ever seen a seeded banana.
A seeded banana. This is an old variety of banana that still produces seeds. People people hybridized and cultivated bananas to get rid of the seeds. So now when you eat a banana, it has that little black specks in the middle. That's what's left of the seed. But this is one of the old varieties that still produces seeds. Tastes terrible though. You don't want to eat this stuff.
We wanted to know how it was used.
If it tastes bad, it's got to be medicine.
Not everything in the garden tasted bad. The ko, or sugar cane, was a traditional sweet snack.
The reason why sugarcane,
Fortunately, many of the native sugarcane varieties survived.
and the reason why we've got so much, there used to be like over 100 different named varieties of Hawaiian sugarcane. And the reason why the sugarcane was such a, I guess, preserved plant was because of the commercial industry. When the first sugar planters were developing the industry in Hawaii, they collected all the Hawaiian varieties.
They kept some of these species around to study their resistance to disease and thus preserved them.
Mmm, that's really sweet.
We were glad they did.
How is it? It's like candy.
This cane was once used as a love potion. Another one was the antidote. While much of Hawaiian religious tradition has been lost, the Kahanu Garden has preserved the largest stone temple, or heiau, in the islands. This 5-story structure is big enough to hold over 8 football fields. But exactly how it was used is still a mystery. While piecing together knowledge about traditional Hawaiian culture is sometimes difficult, it was easy to imagine people in long Voyager canoes full of breadfruit, bananas, and taro landing at this idyllic spot over 1,000 years ago. But we wanted to see what attracted people to live here today. Carl Lindquist, an author, realtor, and art gallery owner, invited us to meet him at his home just outside of Hana. Link, as he's known, created a compound on a lava peninsula that was completely overgrown with hala trees.
To give you an idea, I left that hala tree. Hala trees don't usually grow this tall, but that was the height of the tree cover in here. And I left that one to show everybody, you know, that's how high it had to go to get the sun.
We headed into Hanatown to discover more about what keeps Link and others here. The town grew up around Hana Bay. Its bounty of fish provided for the community. And its rolling hills give cattle lots to nibble on. Hana's uncrowded beach and warm water are the perfect cures for any stressful day. Legend says that a god was sent here to create the perfect man. His mate became the light, misty rain that is so common here. This often produces rainbows, truly a gift from the gods. Hana's church was built by missionaries on the site of an ancient Hawaiian temple, a common practice as Christianity rushed to replace the ancient beliefs. Traditional resort shopping opportunities are limited here, but what Hana lacks on the retail side is more than made up for in old-fashioned charm.
This is like our network board in the hood.
So you don't need email?
Well, no, we just, we function the old-fashioned way, where you either write a note or call each other or stop by at each other's job, or we hook up like that.
There's a real sense of community. You might get to sample the goodies at a bake sale and get a taste of the aloha spirit. The best way to get to know Hana is to check in and spend a few days at the only hotel in town, the Hotel Hana Maui. The classic Hawaiian images that are displayed immediately tell you that this is a special place with a connection to the culture. Our base station was one of the plantation-style ranch cottages that are set out on the hotel's sweeping lawn. A king-size bed commanded a royal view of the breaking surf. From the porch, we could see grazing horses and a pineapple not quite ready to be picked. The hotel is a popular place for corporate events, like Volvo's launch of its C70 convertible. A pack of auto riders got to tackle the Hana Highway with their tops down.
Got it. Thanks, guys. Have fun today. Drive safely.
Thank you.
And bird.
The hotel's restored plantation house is the perfect setting for parties, or for housing guests with large parties. The Hotel Hana Maui is truly a gem by the sea. It's tempting to just slip into this lap of luxury. But the dinner bell was ringing, and we'd heard about its gourmet restaurant. The hotel operates the only restaurants in Hana, but it doesn't take its captive audience for granted. We watched as the kitchen crew, under the direction of executive chef David Patterson, prepared a 6-course feast.
The next course that we're doing is the chilled soup course. It's kipahulu sweet corn soup. The garnish in the bowl are some red begonias, begonia flowers, and some local orange juice. It's dressed with a little cold-pressed raw olive oil. The begonia flowers are they're a really fantastic flower to work with. Very, very citrusy, and it's a really nice contrast to the sweetness of the soup.
Hey, Matt. This is an ahi tuna tartare, the ginger lime aioli, and the vegetable crudité.
The courses kept coming. We wanted to know how their ever-changing menus are created.
It's really based on what is available to us. The land dictates what we can do. We have some ingredients that may only be in season for like 3 days. So, of course we're going to take advantage of that and have the most fun that we can. It's fun. It's just a creative playground.
It's all local, 100%. Yeah. The ginger, from the ginger root to the limes to all of the vegetables, the fish from the Hana waters. The only thing that's not local is the olive oil that was used to make the aioli.
Even the plates are made locally by a Maui artisan.
It makes it a real experience, if the fish is caught by local fishermen, if the vegetables are coming from local guys, the plates are being made by, an artist right here on the island. It's just somewhere in my mind it makes sense, like that's what we should be doing. Instead of bringing our mangoes in from Ecuador when they're in season, or something like that. I think this is a truer view of what Hawaiian food is or should be today. Ron Robinson gets the beef, okay, Brian?
The next day, we were given a chance to see where Patterson and his crew find some of the local ingredients. We drove to the Kipahulu Visitor Center, part of the Haleakala National Park, to meet our guide, Tweety Lynn. After a brief meeting, Tweety took the group for a hike up to a taro field that she and her husband have worked to restore. Taro is used to make poi, a staple in the Hawaiian diet. Of course, we passed a waterfall. This is Hana, after all. But our goal was the Kapahu Living History Farm. This was a chance to get a hands-on Hawaiian history lesson. Tweety's husband John showed us how they plant taro. It would be our job to harvest some. This was a dirty business.
Get your footy.
So how is that?
You're like a creature from the deep.
There is something liberating about playing in the mud while learning about the past. While poi is the most common use for taro, it's also being used today in bread, chips, and even burgers. A personal tragedy convinced Tweety and John that the area's young people needed the direction and meaningful work that this could provide.
I signed for suicide, so from that time, it's always been my sanctuary here. And what we notice there's a lot of other kids out here, many more that do the same kind of.
The loss of their son underscored the importance of their work, keeping their culture alive.
Like, this is why I'm saying it's the healing.
There is a strong interest in cultural preservation in Hana. It includes preparing a pig for a luau, the traditional way, in an imu or fire pit. Rocks are heated and the pig is placed on a bed of leaves over the coals. The hot rocks will cook the pig from the inside out. It's a long, involved process best left to experts who've developed a system to ensure its success.
We found out if you have a case of beer, normal 6 to 8 hour pig will last that amount of case of beer. So when your beer's done, your pig's done. That's when you start taking it out.
The pig was roasting at Hamoa Bay, a great place to while away the hours waiting for an evening luau. Many consider this to be one of the top 10 beaches in the world. It's a public beach, but the Hotel Hana Maui provides bathrooms, showers, boogie boards, umbrellas, chairs, and towels for its guests. As the sun started to set, it was time for the luau. The conch was sounded. The pig was uncovered. And the festivities began. The hotel hosted this community luau. It was a feast that highlighted the local culture, its food, and the abundance of local talent. Both men and women danced hula. Each dance told a story. These stories have been passed from generation to generation as part of the collective memory of the culture. The hula was banned by Christian missionaries who thought its suggestive movements were scandalous. It went underground for years and was passed on in secret. It was revived, then commercialized for tourists, but there's a growing interest in traditional hula. Some are about courtship. Some are about history. They are all graceful, truly poetry in motion. All too soon, the evening came to a close. The next morning, it was time to hit the road. It was hard to leave, but we knew we'd be back someday. We kept going on the road past Hana. As we looked back on our trip, we had to agree with Charles Lindbergh, who once said, "I'd rather live one day in Maui than 1 month in New York."